Good evening, everybody. We're here at 5D Steakhouse in Yorktown, Texas for this week's edition of Football Talk. So, wanted to recap a few games from last week as well as preview some of the games from this week. A couple of games that we're going to go over. First, we're going to go over the Miller-Moody game, a double overtime thriller that saw Miller beat Moody 34-28. The star of that game, one of the stars of that game, was Bubba Lloyd from Miller. 3 catches, 2 of those for touchdowns. Obviously, a kid that's starting to come into his own, and under Coach Evans, starting to become a better player and really understand what it's like to be the go-to guy in clutch situations. And Miller now takes that undefeated record in this next week with against Corpus Christi Vets, and that's a game that we'll be previewing here shortly. Another game that was a close one, 2 turnovers could have been the difference in that game, was the Edna Refugio game. Saw Refugio come away with a 28-21 win behind Jared Kelly's 249 yards passing. Sinton and Beeville, just a shootout. If you took the over in that game, you were good to go, with Sinton coming out with a victory of 66-56. Tristan Canales with 6 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Probably one of the more of the underrated players in South Texas, playing at the running back position as well as lining up sometimes in the slot. To seal that game, Devin Orta with a touchdown pass to UTSA commit Andrew McGowan that put Sinton up by 10. Ultimately, the defense held, didn't give anything else up. And just an exciting game, just as it was last year. And I have no doubt that the years to come, if they continue to play, we're going to see some of the same things. Victoria West with an overtime victory over Lavernia. West's Brandon Gonzalez with 2 touchdowns in that game to help lead them to the victory. 2 exciting games down in the Rio Grande Valley, both 1-point games. The first one we're going to go with is the Mercedes-Weslaco game, which saw Weslaco with a 20-14 lead going into the fourth quarter. The Mercedes defense stepping up and not allowing a point in the fourth quarter, and the offense coming up with a touchdown to where Mercedes, the Tigers, came out with a 21-20 victory over Weslaco. The other game, Ed Couch Elsa and Juarez Lincoln, a 14-13 victory for the Yellow Jackets. Juarez Lincoln scored to make it, to cut the lead to 14-13 after Ed Couch Elsa penalty. Juarez Lincoln decided to go for 2. On the conversion, a fumble by the running back, which was picked up by another Juarez Lincoln player, taken into the end zone for what was thought to be the game-winning 2-point conversion. That would have given them a 15-14 win. But looking at what transpired there, the fumble can only be picked up in advance by the player who fumbled it. Therefore, the 2-point conversion was nullified, and Ed Couch Elsa ended up with the 14-13 win. Just some exciting games, close games that, we look to see more of that this week. So also like to thank Jay-Z Smokehouse in Runge, Texas for bringing us the recaps from last week's game. So if you're ever there in Runge, in the heart of the Eagle Ford right now, stop by for lunch and tell Jimmy that we sent you to go, get you a plate. Some of the bigger games in South Texas this week we'll be looking at down in 32 6A, 2A, 4A battles, some district battles, and then biggest game this week in Corpus. So we're going to start off with the biggest game in South Texas, the district opener for Yoakum and Hallettsville. Last year, Hallettsville, led by Scooter Adams, went into Yoakum, came away with the win there, a rematch weeks later during the 3A Division I Region 4 Championship, which saw Yoakum win. And, of course, Yoakum went on to beat Malakoff and into the state championship game at Cowboy Stadium. I look for a lot of the same this year. Look at DJ Taylor and Scooter Adams to have play key parts for Hallettsville. And on the other side, Yoakum, you've got Nebraska commit Josh Moore, A&M commit Jordan Moore, SMU commit Silas Robinson. Just a lot of talent on the field. But look for, I think special teams are going to play a huge part in this game. Punt returns, guys out there that can just make plays and make things happen. Uh, I like Yoakum in that game going on the road. Last year I had Hallisville going on the road to beat Yoakum in a district opener. This year I'm going to take Yoakum to beat the Brahmas and start the district season off 1-0. Go down the Rio Grande Valley, 36-2A with, 32-6A with San Benito, taking their undefeated record, putting it up against Los Fresnos there at the Falcons. I'm going to go with San Benito, the Greyhounds, Coach Gomez, offensively, behind Hector de Jesus in that offensive line with Tyrone Harper carrying the ball and Eric Areta under center. The offense has steadily improved. The offensive line play has been good. Defensively, Ryan Ressa, Jacob Cavazos, Albert Mercado have been the leaders of that defense along with the rest of the Greyhounds. And I really look for San Benito to win that game and again contend for the title down there in 32-6A along with Harlingen and the Weslaco schools. That takes us to our next game, the Tanaco Bowl, Weslaco against Weslaco East. Crosstown rivals, water tower that separates the two school districts. This will be Coach Salinas' first Tanaco Bowl as the head coach there at Weslaco. Coach Burgett's been there around for a while at Weslaco East. You look at Weslaco East, the names Vargas, Pedraza, Lefevre. Those are the guys that are gonna help carry that team. Then on the other side, you've got Richard Olzak, Peyton Knob, who had a huge kickoff return on the Saturday game a few weeks ago. Richard Carmona, the anchor of their offensive line up front. This should be a good game. Rivalry games, you just never know what's going to happen. This year I'm going to go with Weslaco East, Coach Burgett and company, to come up with a victory on that. In the 2A, 4A matchup, Refugio and Navarro. Of course, the only blemish on Refugio's record last year was loss to Navarro at home. Of course, the Panthers went on to beat Cuero for the Region 4 championship before getting beat by West Orange Stark in the semifinals. Navarro's going to look to grind it out, slow the game down, smash mouth football. Try to wear the Refugio defense down. That defense led by returners Armani Brown, Jamel Lafon. It's going to be a test for them. Navarro being a bigger school, more depth, but Refugio is going to have a lot of athletes offensively. Look for Jared Kelly to air it out, run Isidro Moscoro, run. Jacoby Avery, get the ball out in space to LaFon, to Ross, and look for, that offensive line again is going to have to step up and give the young quarterback time to throw the ball. I like Navarro in this game because of their depth. I think it could very well be like last year, a one possession game. Last year it came down to special teams and penalties that ultimately, cost Refugio the game. It obviously didn't hurt them throughout the season. They ended up winning the state championship, but I look for Navarro to come out on top in this game right here. The big game in the Corpus area, I'm not sure who, if anybody, had battle of undefeated teams with Miller taking on Vets. I know that I didn't. Like we said earlier, talking about Bubba Lloyd, Coach Evans has done a great job there, getting these kids to buy into the system and, changing their attitude and their mindset. At Vets, you've got a more experienced group of kids than what you do at Miller. You've got David Soto, Seth Solis, Matt Alvarez. You've got guys that have been there that are multi-year starters, and this should be a really good game. Again, this is a game that it's going to tell the tale. Miller's had Miller being 3-0 with overtime wins over Carroll and over Moody, and then a victory over King, and then Vets with 4 blowout wins, including going down to La Feria and blowing them out and avenging a loss from last year. In this one, I'm going to go with experience. I'm going to go with Vets in this game. I think Miller is definitely on the rise, but with what the Vets team has done, the experience they have, look for them to win this game. One of the other things that we wanted to talk about was the National Combine, Underclassmen Combine, that's held in conjunction with the Army All-American Bowl the first weekend in January at the Alamo Dome. If you'd like to be considered for the Combine, please make sure that you send an email to fbuteamrgv@yahoo.com. Again, that's fbuteamrgv@yahoo.com. That make sure to submit your film. Make sure you have highlights, We always say 3 to 5 minutes at least. I know you probably guys won't have a lot early in the season, but 3 to 5 minutes. Put your best plays first. Make sure you have a variety of plays where scouts can take a look at it, and the decision makers that will have something good to go off of. Make sure to include your high school, your classification, whether it's 2019, 2020, or 2021, so that nobody has to go and look that up. There are a number of kids from South Texas that last year when competed. Andrew McGowan, of course, a UTSA commit. Gunnar Henderson from down in McAllen High School. Daryl French, also from Sinton. Angel Hernandez from Goliad, Justin Gomez from Beeville, just a number of kids from all of South Texas that were able to compete and showcase their skills against some of the best high school football players in the country, as well as scouts from Rivals 24/7. To be able to get those profiles up there and get their names out to college coaches. Also like to thank one of our other sponsors, Junior's Hot Rod Garage, located at 1506 South Tower Road down there in Edinburgh. Always a big supporter when we go down there to the Rio Grande Valley. Again, so make sure, and for you 2018 players out there, if you haven't already taken your ACT or SAT test, you need to get on that, because you want to make sure the college coaches know that you're qualified and ready to go. If you have any questions or need anything or have any games that you'd like for us to preview or like for us to take a look at, you can find us on Twitter at SOTX Showcase, SOTX Showcase. You can find me on Facebook at BJ Garcia, and we'll definitely take a look, see if we can fit it in our schedule and see if we can get there. Like to thank everybody that's supported us over the last few years, everybody that comes out to our camps, everybody that watches, these shows that we do, and everybody along the way that has been very supportive and giving advice and, good constructive criticism, of things we've done right, things we've done wrong, and look to continue to get better and continue doing this show, again, to highlight teams and players and coaches throughout the area. Again, if you have any questions, please get in contact with us. If you would like to be considered for the National Underclassmen Combine, please make sure you get that information turned in as soon as possible, because evaluations are taking place. Good luck this week, and see y'all next week.